Yeah, I could see with the Pineco lead and the Wingull, maybe Reckless One saw that coming because the flying Pokemon is quite good against Pineco, who's a pure bug.
Yeah, but Pineco properly set up in order to get that double star deactivation with the berry juice. You got to make sure your health is at 21 or lower.
And if a little bit different because of the low HPs, Air Slash taking down the Pineco there, but you can tell that even though the HP said 5%, that was 1 HP out of his total health pool um, on the proc of the Focus Sash. And Snivy coming out here, potentially Zeusimon predicting that swap of some kind, but Wingull also not going to do well against an Ice Beam, so maybe not the best swap there, but Snivy has Contrary, so um, could be a nice setup here for Reckless One to maybe start trying to sweep.
Yeah, I'm expecting these leaf storms to come out. Let's see who Zeusimon's gonna let take the hit on it.
And one problem with some see it as a problem, but also a strength with electric Pokemon is they don't have a whole lot of resistances as a part of that typing. So a Leaf Storm probably would just one tap this Chinchu right away. Yeah, Zeusimon gonna go ahead and pull it out for the Pumpkaboo because Pumpkaboo is gonna be that grass ghost. So resisting the Leaf Storm, but you see that Contrary coming to play immediately. Leaf Storm not lowering the special attack of Snivy, but raising it instead. Really cool ability.
The question now is with that boost, is a hidden power of, say, ice or fire going to be enough to threaten the Pumpkaboo out? It took that first leaf storm very well with only 20%.
And now the Snivy being at 77% HP, we haven't seen the item yet. Could be a berry juice as well. Highly doubt Snivy's going to be on an Eviolite, being such a high sweeper. So if it is choiced through Scarf or Specs, we're going to see another Leaf Storm here. But it could be rocking berry juice in order to maintain the sweeping capability and set up with leaf storms.
We can almost definitely strike Scarf off the list with it being outsped by the Chinchu, who also swap moves. That's my worry about this Snivy right here is that it seems a little slow. So if Zeusimon's able to stall it out without taking too much and chip it down enough to where he can finish it off at the next, the Reckless One just not even willing to play that game straight in the Houndour.
And a perfect foil swap there. Pumpkaboo sending in the big fire attack into the flash fire Pokemon of Houndour, which will absorb the fire move and power up special moves.
Yeah, it specifically will only power up other fire moves, but it'll hold that power up until it needs that fire move. But against Pumpkaboo, that's a pretty good target for some flames.
And we haven't
Yep.
seen knockoff yet from either player on any of the Pokemon. However, Houndour, because of Flash Fire, like you said, will be able to use potentially a flamethrower here to take out the Pumpkaboo. But it also has a choice to use something like a Dark Pulse if it's expecting to be outsped here.
Yeah, it attacks the ghost typing. It gives you flexibility in what Zeusimon can throw into it. It's a hard choice on this swap. We do see those rocks coming into play, chipping down the Houndour, though.
And a huge Fire Blast into the Chinchu, popping the Berry Juice. And we see the Houndour take damage there on a Life Orb on that hit. So that's going to give us that information there on what item the Houndour is using. And, we could see something, just all attacks here. With the Chinchu now in play, we saw that Fire Blast hit for about 70% of the HP, But Fire Blast is not perfect accuracy, so let's see what Reckless decides to throw back out.
As well as Zeusimon on his last Chinchu usage led with that Ice Beam calling the swap. I'm curious to see if he does something similar here or if Reckless reads into that more and feels safer leaving the Houndour in.
Now, Zeusimon does have Tentacool on his team, so I think that Tentacool could be a decent swap here. And maybe he was thinking he would just immediately outspeed the Houndour, which would make sense because he goes with the Volt Switch. And Reckless One, albeit he had a pretty good matchup here with the Chinchu, decides to go to the Munchlax, and the Volt Switch actually does some pretty good damage.
Reckless One not willing to enter any draft without his precious Snorlax. He needs his cuddle buddy, even when it's just a little baby Munchlax.
You can see some pretty fun builds from Munchlax, and as you might expect, Reckless One is doing something very similar that we saw him do with the Snorlax in carrying Pursuit and Whirlwind. One difference, though, as opposed to his previous builds, is that he doesn't have Stealth Rock on his team, so that Whirlwind is purely to stop people from setting up.
And there we see the power of Archon.
Yeah,
Getting a big hit on that Snubble, then you turning out. Maintaining his health so his ability will not cut his attack yet. The Snubble taking it all right with the Intimidate, it's workable.
there's the swap to the Tentacool. And Thunderwave's going to be pretty good against it. And but this Tentacool is going to be one of Zeusimon's ways to knock off some items. So let's see if we see a knockoff here. No, he goes for the stab Sludge Bomb, and the Berry Juice coming back to heal the Munchlax. Ooh, interesting. So Sludge Bomb poisoning the Munchlax, but also we saw 10% damage back from the Tentacool, so it's life orbed as well.
And there's the recycle. The Munchlax will be able to constantly heal himself.
Yeah, so that's the way that he can get his berry juice back. Um, and in Little Cup, a berry juice is even more powerful than like a citrus berry would be in OU.
Yeah, Reckless One, unable to really deal with that Tentacruel, seems fine with just kind of whirlwinding it away, for kind of lack of a better option.
The Pumpkaboo is typically a defensive mon though, so I don't know how much he'll really be able to threaten Munchlax out. And there's the recycle to get the juice back and just heal a ton. So I think Zeusimon's going to see that pretty quickly, that this Pumpkaboo's not going to be able to actually kill the Munchlax, but it will allow it to heal up a little bit with some Giga Drains.
Yeah, just give that poison time to tick up and just increase its damage.
So it's not toxic, so it's just going to be the regular damage every turn. Um, and that came from the Sludge Bomb. There's the swap over to the Houndour. This was that same scenario that we saw before, and still doing decent damage though on the swap with the Giga Drain. So if you're reckless, you want to outspeed here. But Pumpkaboo itself with an Eviolite on is a pretty good tank, so it may even be able to survive something. Um, or maybe he misses with the Fire Blast this time.
Yeah, I feel like the Dark Pulse would be the better option here, just going for the flinch chance. and just push some damage through. He doesn't have the flash fire up right now, so the fire blast could hit for more. But you're right, it is the more damaging attack if you're just trying to one shot the Pumpkaboo. Oh, he's running pursuit on everyone.
And that's one of those times where the difference in Little Cup, even though Houndor is a special sweeper through and through, it still did pretty good damage on that pursuit. And
Oh, and a big crit on that Dark Pulse. One shotting the Chinchou. That was a problem, Mon just being able to rotate in. Houndor taking itself out with the Life Orb, but a good, massive crit there.
I really like this choice here by Zeusimon to go back to the Archon. Snivy, on the other hand, could be the right Mon here to be able to set up against the Archon, but looking at it, it doesn't have a great move to fight it. So we're going to see an Intimidate coming from the Snubble, and a crit on the U-turn is going to be huge there, um, because this Snubble doesn't have a way to heal itself.
Yeah, again, that 5% is probably at 1 health. It could have been a bit of a difference on the rolls for it to just outright kill it.
In the U-turn, we see Zeus with a lot of different Pokemon here with U-turn, allowing him to get a little bit more of that momentum back and maybe outspeed the Snubble when he chooses a Mon. But looking at the Mon he has left, I think Tentacool is really the only one that could outspeed, but remember, it has a paralyze effect from that Thunder Wave.
Yeah, with the rocks out, it's essentially trapped the Snubble here.
Wow.
Oh.
Really powerful coming from that Snubble and Earthquake. And it's carrying Intimidate, so that was just a non-stab Earthquake that just took the Tentacool down just like that. Tentacool, not a very tanky Mon in its base form.
Yeah, that earlier paralyze really coming in clutch there.
Back to the Archon, I think this is where you wanted to be because you know you have a little bit of a speed advantage here. So I think you need to go ahead and take care of the Snubble, but that will allow Reckless One to get a reset and maybe go to the Wingull here to send some attacks back like a Scald or something into the Rockmon and Archon.
Yeah, unfortunately, with the Archon out here and the Snubble being so low, he could simply go for a U-turn and still threaten to kill. It still allows Reckless to see what he's coming into, but if he doesn't want to leave the Archon out there, he does not have to.
Looking at the available Mon here for Zeusimon, um, the Pumpkaboo did have Giga Drain, so a little bit of sustain there, but we haven't seen the Porygon yet, and Porygon is a Mon that can carry Recover, so it does have a little bit of sustain that could allow him to maybe come back here in game one.
I believe he also has access to recycle if he's a berry juicer. There's a lot of different things he can do with Porygon. He can definitely carry his weight. He could even be running it slow with the Trick Room to try and sweep the end of the team. Oh, and Zeusimon just going for the hard hitting, flying stab there. Wingull not enjoying that.
We haven't seen Zeusimon's Archon go below 50% yet, so I would be interested to know is he's probably carrying berry juice if he's using something like acrobatic. So I wonder if that was his best option to use that move there.
I think the big thing is it threatens the Timber and it threatens the Snivy. The Wingull was really the only choice to bring into it. And Porygon coming into a Scald, taking the burn.
And it looks like Reckless took the line I was expecting, but a try attack out of the Porygon, taking down the Wingull. Here's the problem though, is Porygon is quite slow, but Munchlax might be slower. We could see a recover immediately here from Zeusimon to try to get some of that HP back. And yep, There's the recover, heals back up. Recycle bringing the berry juice back to the Munchlax. It's still at 60% though, so it's going to just kind of carry that and allow Zeusimon to do another recover because Munchlax is slower than the Porygon here.
I would have liked to have seen the aggressive play straight into the timber and just try and take it from there.
This is a little bit of a different play style. Well, we saw Dirtman last night just say, I have more Mon than you. I'm just going to kill your Mon. Whereas here, it looks like Reckless One is being a little bit more conservative in his approach and trying to make sure he always has berry juice available on this Munchlax. Ooh, great swap there by Zeusimon. The body slam will not work on a ghost. But in the scenario here, it looks like you're okay, and we are seeing a synthesis finally out of Pumpkaboo, and that will allow it to heal up without pressing Giga Drain. And just back to another stall situation here, like we saw with the Porygon. And Munchlax eating the berry juice there. We're going to see another recycle here on the following turn by Reckless One.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing the downfall of pursuit here, where if they're willing to just sit in, you you're not able to get the damage output that you need to really threaten that you would get from some other move like Crunch or the ever present knockoff or the priority off sucker punch.
Here comes the heavy hitter in Timber. This is the Mon we expected to see, but Pumpkaboo able to put the burn on it. Oh, and the freeze hacks on the ice punch. That will allow Reckless One to do pretty much whatever he pleases here. And Timber being burned, you got to imagine he's going to go ahead and swap and get to a matchup that he prefers without the burn there.
Yeah, this was the one Mon I was thinking to avoid with the Timber, and the freeze really coming in clutch there.
Timber is such a powerful Mon, though, with such a great move pool. It goes with a knockoff, gets the Eviolite out of there. That's going to kind of allow the burn to not be as big of a status effect on the Timber because the Pumpkaboo no longer has the extra defense from the Eviolite. Mm. Good play here, getting over to the Snivy, but it's immediately thawed, allowing a synthesis. The Snivy at 58% HP. We saw before that we weren't sure if it was orbed or using something like a berry juice. It's still over 50% HP, so still not 100% sure there, but could be a scenario where this Snivy has something to be able to threaten the Pumpkaboo, but the only attacking move we've seen so far is the Leaf Storm, and yeah, right back to the Munchlax, and a Fire Blast doing almost nothing, but taking it to that 50%, allowing the Berry Juice to proc, and we'll see another recycle here from the Munchlax.
Yeah, this Pumpkaboo is being the thorn in Reckless's side. Zeusimon using it very well here.
I do want to see another pursuit here out of the Munchlax. This seems like a pretty easy swap for Zeusimon, but he decides to just leave him out there, maybe predicting the pursuit. But no, Reckless One being safe, going with the recycle, probably the smarter play here because it's going to already proc the Berry Juice there on the Giga Drain. But Giga Drain has low PP and into the Whirlwind, bringing the Archon in. And honestly, if you're Reckless One, this is the Mon you didn't want to see.
It's just going to U-turn straight back into the Pumpkaboo.
Yeah, I think if I'm Reckless One, I'm fine with this, but you gotta stop pressing Body Slam. I mean, you really can't use that at all. I think if you're going to attack, you just have to press Pursuit.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is his only real way to potentially deal with the Pumpkaboo that I'm seeing right here is with the Snivy having some kind of hidden power coverage, and it's only going to be able to do that if it gets some boosts off first to really get the umph behind it.
I hear what you're saying, but if it's me, like I think that if you're Reckless One, the PP of Giga Drain and Synthesis being so restrictive, I think that's gotta be your approach here.
I mean, we got to recall the Snubbles at 1 health, it will die to rocks on entry.
Yeah, and there's the pursuit there, and that's what I want to see from Reckless One out of the Munchlax. Body Slam doesn't seem worth it. Um, Synthesis though and Giga Drain I think are super limited though on PP. Maybe 8 total PP for each move. Could be a little bit higher, but it's definitely on the lower end, even with the PP ups. Yeah, one crit with this pursuit, and Pumpkaboo will be in big trouble. But there's the synthesis allowing the recycle to bring back the juice. And you can see how strong that juice is here in Little Cup, especially with a recycler. And Zeusimon just hasn't been able to knock off this Munchlax because normally you'd see an Eviolite where a Munchlax would have that knocked off immediately, but Recycle allowing you to kind of get around knockoff. Another Fire Blast. Fire Blast 2, though, is another move that has low PP. So I think that's Reckless One's plan here, is just to keep hanging out until Zeusimon's out of PP on this Pumpkaboo.
Yeah, it definitely appears so. The pursuit really
Oh,
forcing us to
there's
approach
the
that threat.
crit! Was waiting for the crit and it just takes it down. That's gotta spell trouble for Zeusimon. But the Porygon we saw as a recover, here comes Archin to maybe try and do this 50% before the recycle can get off. Let's see if he can make a little bit of a move here to get some momentum and turn it around.
Yeah, if the Archon can take out the Munchlax, it would essentially make it 2-2 with the Snubble dying on entry. The Timber is also burned. That is a very big part.
The Timber is burned, and there's the Snubble. He's just going to go for the reset here, and Head Smash not able to hit there. Here comes Timber. Now remember, Archon is rock flying. So we're going to see a speed race here because if Archon can hit this thing, it will die before it can actually deal damage back. We saw acrobatics, remember.
And potentially Archon also having that berry juice. Can the Timber through the burn
No, no,
when he
no,
gets
no,
it down
no.
to 53%?
Mach Bunch is not going to do much against this Archon. And there goes the Timber. Reckless One might have just given this right back to Zeusimon. And
He could have also set it up to where the Snivy can kill it at 53% without triggering Archon's potential berry juice.
now remember with Leaf Storm, because Archon has the rock typing. Oh, and the acrobatics coming in, outspeeding the Snivy, killing it there. Here comes Munchlax. We know the rocks will take it down, and we see Head Smash. It takes it in, and Zeusimon comes back and takes game one. Huge comeback there from Zeusimon, and
Archon, the
we'll
little bird that no one wanted, a late pick by Zeusimon, a high point Mon really showing that it does deserve those points. It'll be interesting to see how these two assess each other's threats, what they protect in these next matches throughout the early game, what they lead with. We're going to game two.
really great game one there. I think Reckless perhaps got a little bit careless there with the Munchlax. Even though he got a huge crit from the pursuit, he didn't really have it in a good position to where it was able to carry him to the end there. And the Snubble reset turn might have been the situation where everything started to go wrong.
I gotta say, the big thing that I'm not liking about Reckless's team is the speed on that Snivy. I would almost prefer to see it just scarfed and just mash Leaf Storm.
And you got to imagine that we didn't see it use any other moves besides Leaf Storm. So what else is it doing? Um, it could be have some defensive moves, maybe like substitute or something, but really only press Leaf Storm. And I think when you first had it with two with a stage up on it, you pulled him immediately.
Yeah, you got to cash in after you get those boosts. But here we go with the lead of Timber against the Pineco. The bug typing being pretty good against the fighting, but Timber's move pool being vast.
Yeah, the Pineco sending out a spike this time. So instead of the stealth rock, he sends out the spike, and oh, a massive explosion hitting the timber, but not going to be enough to take it down. Again, this timber has a great move pool, so it could have something like a drain punch here. Maybe we see Pumpkaboo come out immediately, but you gotta fear a knockoff in that scenario.
Yeah, and that first knockoff, a very good play by Reckless against Zeusimon's Berry Juice Sturdy setup. Zeusimon probably going for the spikes figure, and I'll have a couple turns with my Sturdy at least to be able to do it and having to cash in on that explosion a little bit earlier. And
Reckless
he
One
brings in
doesn't
the Archon.
he doesn't really have a great answer to this Archon outside of the Wingle. So we're gonna see probably some damage here, but the Intimidate from the Snubble really great, cutting the attack and U-turn, allowing Zeusimon to get a little bit of momentum back. But we saw in the last game that Snubble didn't have any moves to heal itself.
But there it is, the Paralyze on the Tentacruel. This is exactly what happened last game, Snubble being used as a pivot to kind of spread those status effects. And
Yeah,
immediately going for the Earthquake this time, seeing that he had the kill last time.
yeah, great learning there from Reckless One. Zeusimon not really able to take advantage of the Tentacool. And with the Pineco down and no rock, the one layer of spikes is not going to be as effective, stopping Reckless from swapping things out here. But this is a pretty good matchup for you. Um, we'll have to see what Reckless wants decides to do. Maybe he'll immediately go to the Munchlax.
Yeah, Porygon can definitely do the work that Zeusimon needs. But it's going to take a couple of either safe plays or mistakes from Reckless in order to give him those openings. The
We're gonna see.
30% off that Psychic.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna see Zeusimon just go straight back to the Pumpkaboo. I don't think that really ended up very well for him. So, yeah, he's going to leave the Porygon out here to try to deal with this Munchlax. And the Pursuit not going to do nearly enough damage. And there's a Whirlwind to just get him out of there. And the Pumpkaboo in, giving Reckless One a little bit better of a matchup.
Oh, and a miss from the Will-O-Wisp, giving him the time to recycle. Yeah, I mean, earlier on in the matchup, it's all right with the Pumpkaboo being in here. But the problem is it is definitely kind of stuck in here if Reckless wants to force it.
Oh, and this is a big change from last match. You remember, Munchlax got poisoned from a random sludge bomb. This time, Zeusimon is able to land the Will-O-Wisp, and that Pursuit is not going to be really anything to threaten this Pumpkaboo. Now with the
Yeah,
attack cut on the burn.
it really took the edge off that one. That's going to allow those Giga Drains to just kind of do the work and let him save his synthesize for when he needs, or even just using the rest of his kit more and using the synthesis to heal up massively.
Yeah, and I think Reckless One notices that immediately and is trying to decide what he should do. Now, Pumpkaboo has Fire Blast, so I think that's one reason why Reckless One doesn't just immediately go to the Snivy here. Um, Pretty interesting choice. Not a lot of great options, but maybe he'll try to get back to the Snubble to get some of these status effects off of himself.
Yeah, I would have potentially gone into the Houndour if I were worried about the fire blast and just go ahead and threaten it out with the dark pulses. Wingull taking that fire blast well.
Yeah, I think Houndor was probably the correct choice there, but this wing goal I think is really key to be able to deal with the Archon. So I'm kind of afraid if you're reckless to lose this wing goal here. A knockoff hitting the Chinchu, getting rid of Berry Juice, pretty big move there. Um, but I think you need to get Wingull out of here now. And he does and goes straight back to the Munchlax.
Yeah, Zeusimon very safely being able to go for a Volt switch. Get the matchup he wants. I'm thinking it's possibly back into the Porygon. Just keep threatening that thing with Tri-Attacks.
Chooses the Archon this time. Maybe for another U-turn, maybe a quick head smash to try and get this Munchlax down from 47%. We see the Munchlax being sub 50, and it did not heal up, so Reckless One needs to get a recycle off. Um, but I think that Archon will be able to kill it before it will be able to use that recycle. Ooh, this is tough. Reckless One sends out the Snubble. Oh, and a huge miss on the head smash. That allows Reckless One to put the attack down, and I think we could see a Heal Bell here out of this Snubble because he really wants to unlock that Timber, and the U-turn will allow Zeusimon to go straight back to the Pumpkaboo and be prepared to apply more Will-O-Wisps.
Yeah, that head smash is heartbreaking. If he had gotten that off, he can start picking some team members off, removing some key components to Reckless's team. He can really start getting his feet dug in and make the headway that he needs.
He chooses to go for the Porygon on the download. Oh, massive paralysis on this Porygon. Just absolutely huge. And had a chance to maybe go to Chinchu there if you were expecting the Thunder Wave. But really, really tough breaks there for Zeusimon. Oh, and a nice swap there, predicting maybe another status effect move or just a potential paralysis hack to get the free swap. But he knows he's faster. There's the recycle, gets it off, and the try attack doing 40% this time. But he can pretty much press recycle here, know he outspeeds, and he'll right back up and just hope for a paralysis proc each turn. Yeah, I think Zeusimon sees that and is going to have to try and make a proactive swap here. You can't leave this Porygon in because one bad paralysis proc will give Reckless One the momentum back. But there's the recycle. The try attack hits again, and Reckless One will be able to just press recycle again, heal back to full, and hope that Zeusimon hits the paralysis proc. So Zeusimon needs to see that quickly and make a swap here. Oh, and Reckless One going for the Whirlwind. He is now in big trouble pressing Whirlwind instead of Recycle there. Whoa. Giving it back to Zeusimon. Zeusimon is now in the driver's seat with the faster Mon and Archon, and the Munchlax only at 10%. I don't know what Reckless was thinking there, but not a great move.
Yeah, it's definitely Archon versus the world here. Reckless One possibly willing to just let the Munchlax die off, throwing it out into that Porygon. Maybe wanting to go into a clean switch to try and put the pedal on the metal for himself a bit.
Yeah, I don't like this scenario here for Reckless. We will see the Snubble be able to force out the Archon, but your Snubble is getting chipped down every single time here by U-turn and the spikes that are out there. And we don't have any Wish Pokemon, and he just swaps right back to the Timber. We're gonna see the U-turn chip the Timber a bit, and now he'll be able to just go over to the Chinchu and Volt Switch and kill the Timber here. I don't
Yeah,
like Reckless One's line here. Um, he's kind of given away his two Pokemon advantage. You had a great scenario with the Munchlax, and you just kind of gave it away. And yeah, immediately to the Chinchu. And we're going to see another Volt Switch come out. Maybe Reckless One takes this chance to swap to the Snivy. But no,
yeah, I was
no.
gonna say he doesn't even have to Volt Switch if he wants to leave the Chinchu out.
Yeah,
Yeah, here comes the Snivy.
here's Snivy. And if you're Zeusimon, I think you just press Ice Beam again. Um, no real threat here. Because we saw, oh, and Reckless One able to outspeed there, killing the Chinchu with the Leaf Storm powering up. Here comes Pumpkaboo, but with that two-stage up on the Snivy, let's see how much Leaf Storm does.
Yeah, that means it must have been a speed tie on our previous matchup between those two.
Mm-hmm. And a Fire Blast, Flash Fire, eating that. This is where Reckless One needs to take advantage. Press those fire attacks and just see what happens. Going for Dark Pulse, huge damage there. The Berry Juice is the item on the Archon, but now Acrobatics is turned on, and we could see some big damage out of this Archon coming back onto the Houndour, swapping to the Snubble for the Intimidate. He'll really need it because the Acrobatics, oh, Head Smash, taking it down there. But Archon now unlocked in a way. Will we see Wingull come out in order to try and threaten the Archon out with a Scald?
Yeah, I mean, even with that, the Snubble's dead now. He can just hard swap the Archon out into the Porygon that's already got the paralysis on it, or even the Pumpkaboo. I believe the Pumpkaboo would be the piece I'd be trying to protect more. Just remove that attack drop and really unleash that Archon.
Yeah, looking at Reckless One's Snivy here, going to the rosters. Really interesting choice, but Houndour
Oh,
able to outspeed the Archon there with a Dark Pulse, killing it. Huge move of momentum. And here comes Porygon paralyzed, but Porygon is an Eevee-like character, but we saw this Houndour have fire, and there's the Stab Fire Blast doing 48%, big damage. Tri Attack will kill the Houndour back, though. Let's see Snivy come out here and force this Porygon to swap out. Got to imagine that it's going to be the Snivy here. You got to just press Leaf Storm because the
I'd
Porygon.
see the want to throw the Wingull out if you think it can kill the Porygon from 40%, but I agree the Snivy being able to go ahead and guarantee the boost, even if the Pumpkaboo switches in on it. The boost is the other part of that move that matters.
One problem is your Snivy can be threatened by this Pumpkaboo. So this is where it gets risky. Is Pumpkaboo has Fire Blast. Let's see if Reckless is going for something sneaky here. No, just presses Leaf Storm, goes for the two-stage up, and if you're Reckless One, I think you just got to go for it here. And he presses Substitute. Huge thing because the Fire Blast still hits, just kills the sub, but it lets him get a little bit. Oh, and he goes straight to the Wingull here. Fire Blast hitting every time, I got to say. Zeusimon is probably due for a miss there on that Fire Blast.
Yeah, I would have been fine with Reckless One just sitting in there with the Snivy and continuously substituting for at least a couple turns. I believe and there's the air slash from the Wingull just taking it out.
Yeah, this is massive here. The Wingull using air slash. Oh, and here comes recover. Oh no, the dry attack. This will end it for Zeusimon in game 2. We're going to game 3 here. Reckless is going to be able to Leaf Storm here and kill this Porygon unless it misses. That is the only thing that could. Oh, and it does miss! Incredible! Zeusimon is fully paralyzed, so it doesn't matter. Reckless One will get one more chance to press Leaf Storm. Maybe he uses another attacking move. Incredible. He does go for the hidden power, and we are going to game 3. Crazy ending there.
Yeah, just a little, foul on both sides. They counter each other out. Let's just run it back.
Really funny there. Just that's Pokemon RNG for you.
Yeah, I'm curious how we're gonna get how they're gonna start in this game three. With Zeusimon really getting good value out of the rocks in the last one. Reckless one navigating very well around the berry juice sturdy antics in order to guarantee those hazards for Zeusimon. Maybe Zeusimon saves it and doesn't go immediately into it. Maybe he does it anyway and just leads with the rocks instead of the spikes this time.
Yeah, I think the rocks were a much more effective hazard because you pressed explosion on your Pineco, so you were okay with only a single spike out there. I'd like to see rocks, but Reckless One making the start of Houndour and going for the flame charge, not going to do enough damage, but we'll be able to speed him up immediately. And a stealth rock coming out here, Reckless One really putting the pressure on this Pineco immediately. Kind of a cool setup here.
Yeah, with this play, this mixed Houndour is very interesting. He's able to do several things with it, and he's done something different every time. And keeping this play in his back pocket. If I'm doing this, I'm wanting to leave the Houndour and really bust up the team, but it's hard to do that with that Tentacruel and the Chinchou, two water types.
Oh, and he just leaves him out there. The Fire Blast. Oh, and a huge burn there. Are we going to see a spike? Yeah, he sends the spike. The burn taking the Pineco down. Reckless One is going to be able to just leave this Houndour out for a little bit. And if he goes for the Tentacruel, he can freely Dark Pulse. And if he goes for the Pumpkaboo, heck, just press another fire move. Going for the Chinchou though, so I think we're going to see the Dark Pulse, and a particular flinch proc here could be pretty huge.
Yeah, it's an interesting call. Does he value the Houndour later in the fight with it having that little bit of chip on it done to itself with the life orb, as well as the stacking damage of the hazards that are currently set? I think it's in the proper play would be fight till you die. Just like you said, time to start going for flinch hacks. And Reckless One, he wants that fire typing, he wants that fire absorption for those fire blasts out of the Pumpkaboo.
And Zeusimon pressing Ice Beam, if you're Reckless One, you gotta be upset that you pulled out your Houndour. Um, you're kind of going back to how you played game one, a little bit more defensive instead of offensive. Yeah, pressing Body Slam there, and we saw how that didn't work in game one. I think you gotta lock it in if you're Reckless if you want to win this game three.
And we see those hazards on the Houndour, but there's the flash fire. Let's see if he goes for his speed buff here, predicting the swap and then being able to potentially outspeed whatever comes in. But I think he's got to try and cash in on this Houndour instead of continuing to keep it for the defensive purposes.
Yeah, and it may be a little bit too late here. Oh, and the Dark Pulse hitting. Will he flinch him? No, he will not. The Scald finishing off the Houndour. Really tough breaks for Reckless because you had him with a speed stage up. Just really tough breaks there. Hopefully Reckless can rally because you had that major advantage. Here comes Timber, and Zeusimon is going to have to probably swap to the arch, and no, goes for the Tentacruel or the Tentacool, and knock off getting rid of the life orb will make Tentacle hit a lot less hard, but hey, at least it's not against the Snubbull getting one shot by Earthquake. Really, really tough here if you're Reckless. With the rock and the spikes out there, you had that Houndour with the speed up, just really, really hard scenario to try and pull him out, but Timber is probably set up to just press knockoff again here.
Yeah, someone's definitely deep in the tank here. Reckless one going in for the Snivy.
And this is something that, yet again, Reckless One is defaulting back to his game one strategy of swapping a little bit too much for my taste. And a huge crit on a sludge bomb there, just one tapping the Snivy from 100 to 0. This is going to be really hard for Reckless. You had it, and all of a sudden you're just swapping your Mon over and over. And the rocks this game doing good damage to the Wingull, whereas last game the spikes only being spikes is why the Wingull was able to freely swap in.
Yeah, he definitely got a lot more use out of that Wingull this time. And with those hazards, yeah, when you have those double setup hazards and you don't have a way to remove them, you really got to understand that you need to keep your foot on the gas. There's the hidden power though, taking out the tentacle.
And Reckless One seems to be really on top of this hidden power ground. I mean, that's what it had to have been there. Um, because I don't think that hidden power electric would really make sense. Probably hidden power ground, and it's really only good against Tentacle, so I'm not sure why he thought he really needed that on 2 Mon in this game.
I think it could be a many typings. Could have been a hidden power psychic for some reason.
And there's the Thunder Wave landed on the Wingull, slowing it down. Hidden power doing almost nothing. Um, so definitely not hidden power fighting. And here's Dry Attack. We saw, oh, and Dry Attack landing one of its potential status effects in the paralysis. Another big damage, and the paralysis proc's coming for Reckless One here. And I think you're in big trouble if you're Reckless. Yeah, losing the Munchlax there. Both hazards out there. I don't think you have a real great way to come back here outside of maybe just sweeping with the timber if you have a way to do that.
Exactly what I was thinking. He's going to need big production out of this timber. But there's a will-o-wisp on Zeusimon's side that's just itching to get to it, and the psychic from the Porygon just outspeeding it flat out. We did see the psychic in the previous matchup, so we did know that he had it.
Try attack, critting the Snubble there. A Porygon as a defensive house as well with the Eviolite. This is going to spell the end for Reckless One. Zeusimon with a convincing win here in Game 3. And that will end it. Great match. Good showing from both players.